Perfect. And the truth of the matter is that all of us, each one of us, has lived something of value, right? Each one of us has that value in our stories that we can share. I mean, even the most mundane things, like this guy. Okay, do you recognize this guy? This is a tissue paper. A tissue paper is important to us, right? He has some value. It has some value to us. When we are at our weakest, sick and cold, we reach out for the tissue paper, and it's always there for us, right? Similarly, when we are at our happiest, maybe it's our birthday and we're celebrating with chocolate cake and it's dripping all over our cheek, we reach out for the tissue paper again, and it's always there for us. That's the value that something as commonplace as a tissue paper has us. So each one of us has some value in our life. Our stories have that kind of a value. But where do we find these stories that we can share with the audience? To understand this, bear with me. I'm going to give you a short story, okay? And you can tell me whether you like it or not, how it is, right? Okay, so my story goes like this. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, because that's how everybody tells a story, right? Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a beautiful little house. In that house, there was a man and a woman. They had two kids and a small dog. In front of their house, they had a beautiful garden. There was a river flowing nearby. Backdrop, there were the majestic mountains. The sky was beautiful. The weather was great. They lived a beautiful life. The end. How was that story? Is it good? You enjoyed it? My descriptive language was good, maybe. That was the most
What
boring
is in it
story
for
I've heard
me?
in my life. Absolutely boring story, right? Because nothing happened. I mean, something has to go wrong. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the wind blew the roof of that house away, or some animal wolf came and chased that dog, or they had no internet that day. Something has to go wrong. If nothing goes wrong, there's no story, right? If there's no masala, there's no biryani. That's the bottom line. If there's no challenge, there's no story. So I ask you one thing. Have you faced any challenges in your life? You have, right? Everybody has. There's no place where nobody has faced
Every
any
day.
challenge. Yeah, if you would have faced challenges today,
Exactly.
maybe to reach this meeting on time, you had to lock yourself in your room and keep your children away, or you had to rush from wherever you were, find parking which you couldn't find, go around the house twice to be able to reach there. Something or the other always goes wrong. And the challenges in your life, you have overcome and are here today, right? No challenge, no story. From your mess comes your message. So look into your life, find those moments which were an absolute mess, and remember how you overcame it. Who were the people who helped you that time? Where did you find that motivation to overcome that challenge? What were the changes you made in your life to overcome that challenge? That's where your message is. And that's the value that you can add to your audience. I guarantee you one thing, right? Whatever the challenge in your life may have been that you overcame, I guarantee you one thing, any room of people that you speak to in the world, there will be at least one person who's going through the same challenge that you have overcome. You always have an audience. All you have to do is look into your life and find those challenges which you think are ordinary, but tell the story of how you overcame and how you made yourself to who you are today. That's the value that you can add to your audience. I hope I have your attention now. All right. Next up, start with a hook. The game time of your speech is the first 30 seconds. Right at the beginning, the audience is deciding whether they should be listening to you or they should go back to their important, WhatsApp message which just came, or taking a selfie with their neighbors and posting it on Instagram, or looking at that shopping list which their spouse has just sent and they need to be home right after your speech. Yeah, they're doing all of these things. So your competition when you take the stage is not just the other seven people who are competing with you. It's also all of these things that are keeping your audience away. So you need to grab their attention right at the beginning. See, remember, if you win the beginning, then you have an easier task to hold their attention through the speech. But if you don't have their attention at the beginning, then you have to fight to get it, while the rest of the speech is going on. So how do we use this to our advantage? When you structure your speech, have something crafty, have something intriguing, something which creates curiosity, something that really pulls the audience towards you right at the beginning. My suggestion to you, and something that I follow, is I write my stories, my message, my call to action, my conclusion, finish it off, then come and write the opening. Once I have a good sense of my entire material right up till the end, then I come up with some opening hook which will grab the audience's attention. But remember, you absolutely need to have this hook at the beginning. It could be a question, it could be some startling statistic, it could be a short anecdote, it could be a joke, it could be some pointed or rhetorical question that you don't need a response from, but you just need the audience to react, right? So you can decide what it is, but you really need to plan how you're going to utilize those first 30 seconds of your speech. All right. Okay. You all remember this scene, right? I'm sure you've all been in this scene where grandma or grandpa or parents are sitting and telling the story. You, along with your siblings or your cousins, are sitting there listening with rapt attention, like, the knowledge of the whole universe is being given to you right now. Yeah, those stories were amazing. And they had that special knack. For sure, your grandparents were not toastmasters, right? But they could tell a story. What does that mean? They weren't trained or in any way practiced telling that story, right? They did it by themselves. Stories have a natural way of being told, right? When you really feel it, when you're passionate about it, the story pretty much tells itself. So you don't stand in the way of that story and just feel and emote what that story has to tell. Remember those big characters. All of those stories had great kings or warriors or heroes who would do something great, larger than life. So find out in your story, in the story that with which you overcame your challenge, who was that character? Who were the people in that story? Bring them to life on stage. Your audience doesn't know them, they can't see them, but they're going to feel them or understand them through your words and through your expressions. So bring them to life, show them, give them a voice, give them a dialogue to say, give them a characteristic, right? Maybe it was that old, the class teacher of your back in your school who inspired you to study when all you wanted to do was go out and play cricket or go watch a movie. Something they said really turned your life around. Maybe it was your first boss, who took in a fresher who didn't have any idea what to do and sort of drilled that discipline into you. You hated him first, but eventually you learned, and that turned your life around. Or maybe it was that person who gave you your first chance, or that love interest who brought out the humane side of you. Any of these could be that hero, but you have the chance to portray and display them to your audience, make them see it, right? Now, irrespective of what it is that you want to say, always remember the best way to send your message across is a story. It's always been a story. Back in the day when, there wasn't any internet or TV and all, news from one part of the world would go to the other side through storytellers. They would run hundreds of miles and tell stories. Oh, there's a kingdom there. There's a very benevolent king. It's a wonderful place. You should all go there. This is how news spread. And it's always been a story. I mean, if you have children or if you're around children, right, you always hear them come and say, "Daddy, Daddy, tell me a story." Yeah. No kid has ever come up and said, "Daddy, Daddy, show me a PowerPoint." Never. It's always been, "Tell me a story," right? Even now in business, you hear about storytelling with data. That's the way to convey that message of yours. The best way is always a story because they listen to your story, but they get your point. That's why you're telling the story, right? So remember one thing that back when we used to see those heroes, all of us at some point wished that, we were like those heroes, right? And that was the idea behind our grandparents or parents telling us that story. It was to put the moral of the story into the kid, right? Because facts inform, but stories transform. So if you want to bring that motivation, that change into your audience, the use of stories is undeniable, right? So craft the story, present it in such a nice way that the audience is with you, really enjoying that story with all the twists and the turns. Stories are never at one level, right? They always have the ups and the downs. Just like the beautiful Himalayas that you see, they go up and they come down. That's why they're beautiful. If it was stone at one level, it would be a wall. We wouldn't be looking at it, right? So bring that vocal variety, that those emotions that are part of telling that wonderful story. Because, see, the bottom line is people share, people listen to experiences, right? We don't remember everything that's happened in our life, but we remember certain experiences. So, just like that, if you want to make your story memorable, present it like you're sharing an experience, not giving a speech. Share that experience. Let the audience feel it. All right. Now I have a small quiz for all of you. What I want you to do is you can unmute and you can shout it out. I'm presenting to you, a slogan, few words, a catchphrase, and I want you to guess which brand it stands for. Okay? Something where all of you can participate. I have the words "Just do it." Which brand is this?
I think
Nike.
Adidas,
Nike.
Nike.
I heard
Nike.
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 Nike is
Yes.
right. Nike is right.
Yeah.
Let's look at the next one. I'm loving it.
McDonald's.
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 McDonald's. You are correct. Let's look at the next one. Because you're worth it. It's a bit tricky. The ladies in the group may know it.
De Beers,
De Beers? No, it's not diamonds. I wish.
because you're
Probably a
working.
woman's best friend or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
This is
Gucci.
no. This is Aishwarya Rai.
Aishwarya Rai is right, actually. Yeah. Because you're worth it is L'Oreal Paris.
L'Oreal.
L'Oreal. Yeah. All right. So we've got the world's local bank. You may not know this, but
HDFC, HSBC.
HSBC is right. HSBC it is. The best a man can get. We've got this
Raymond's.
so many. Huh?
Raymond's.
Raymond's? No. Raymond's is
Watch. Is
not
it
the
a
best a man
watch?
can get.
Why?
Gillette's. Gillette's or
Yeah, it is Gillette. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Spot on. And the last one I have is impossible is nothing. You actually guessed this before. Impossible is nothing. Not nothing is impossible. Impossible is nothing.
Hashim.
No. I wish. It's all day I dream about sports or Adidas.
Adidas.
Yeah. So the thing is, you see these simple lines and you remember the brand, right? So just think about it. Can you summarize your speech in few simple words? Or can you put something memorable like this in your speech that people will remember years later also? And through those words, they will recollect your speech. One of the most famous speeches in history is "I Have a Dream." Do you know whose speech that was?
I think Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King.
Absolutely
Yeah.
right, Martin Luther King Jr. I'll challenge you if I ask one of you or anybody outside also to tell me the second line of that speech or the third line of that speech or any other lines of that speech. Maybe people will not remember. Some people may, very few will, but you may not remember the whole speech or any other part from that speech. But that doesn't matter because just those words, "I have a dream," is something that even hundreds of years later, we're still remembering it. And it still stands for what that speech was all about. It's about freedom, it's about change, it's about equal rights, it's about, that movement that was there. And it's still quoted today. That's how powerful just those few words were. If you have seen the movie Mr. India, yeah, you all remember. Do you remember that movie? Have you all seen that movie? No?
I do.
Yeah. So there was a character of Amrish Puri. It was called Mugambo, right? He was actually the bad guy in that movie. And there's a famous dialogue is Mugambo Khush Hua. Yeah, you recollect that sentence? Mugambo Khush Hua? We saw that movie maybe what, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. You still remember those dialogues. You don't remember the name of the hero in that movie. You remember the bad guy. All right? That's how powerful just a few words can be. So think about it. Can you summarize or can you put something memorable like this into your speech, which represents what your speech is all about? Toastmasters uses this. If you see the World Championship winning speeches, probably one of the most famous is I see something in you. Right? He repeats that 3 times in his speech and makes that speech completely memorable with just that one sentence. I see something in you. Words have power. Yeah. Still standing. These are all different terms that have been used in Toastmaster speeches to make those speeches memorable. So think about it. Can you may put something like this, a catchphrase, a foundation phrase, a phrase that pays in your speech? Repeat it at appropriate times, maybe after your first story, after your second story, and then in your conclusion. And make it so catchy that people will remember that sentence. And through that, remember your speech. All right. So decorating your speech to make it memorable is what is important. Another reason why you need to decorate your speech is remember, see, your speech is 7 minutes long. We talked about a 30 seconds at the beginning where you're grabbing the audience's attention, but you want them to stay with you for the 7 minutes, right? So you have to grab their attention in between. A simple way to do that is writing for the ear. The difference between, reading an article in a magazine or a newspaper and listening to a speech on stage is that when you read an article, you can read it again and again until you get it. But on stage, you have one opportunity. Either the audience is with you or they're not. That's it. Once that sentence has been said, it is over. It's not coming back, right? So you really need to make sure that the audience is with you to be able to receive your information. It's just like a phone call. When the people call you from the credit card company and to tell you, do you want a credit card? You cut the phone, right? You don't stay on the line. But if the conversation is something interesting, then you will stay on the line. Only then you will hear what they have to tell you. It's the same way. So try to write for the year. An example of writing for the year is using, alliterations, using triads, all those rhetoric devices that you heard about. They sound really nice. Descriptive language grabs the audience's attention. They want to listen. Okay, what is this guy talking about? Or what is this lady talking about? Oh, that sounds really good. Yeah. You can also use sound words to get the audience's attention. An example of a sound word I'll tell you is maybe it's a mundane sentence like, I was driving through Sheikh Zayed Road, I got a flat tire. This is what I'm saying. Simple, normal sentence, nothing in it. What if I said, I was driving through Sheikh Zayed Road, bang, I got a flat tire. Suddenly, you have the audience's attention with you and they're listening to what happened in case they had drifted off in between. But don't put a bang in every sentence. Huh? If you do that, the audience will come and bang you. So use it wisely. Use it wisely, appropriately to get the audience's attention. Use of power of three is triads. I came, I saw, I conquered. If you want to make it humorous, the first two will go in the same direction. Third one will be a complete misdirection if you want to make it humorous. Expressions, emotions. I talked about creating this as an experience. So put the words into your speech where you will express what are the emotions that you're going to bring. Because see, you want the audience to feel. And based on that feeling, you want them to think what to do. And then you want to act. You want them to take some action. Right? This is what your speech's emotional movement is all about. You want them to feel. You want them to think, reflect on their life, see what they did wrong, what they can change. And then you want them to act. Right? So put in those expressions, those emotions, how you want to show it. On stage, your small smile cannot be seen. You need a big smile, right? Your small sadness cannot be seen. You need a big expression. If you want to show anger, you have to use your body language and your expressions to actually show it. On stage, things look a lot smaller from the audience side. So you do need to show it or plan how you're going to present it. Props, use of props are good if they support what you're saying. Don't force a prop into it. Okay. If you want to say that, that day I was wearing a red shirt. You don't need to show a red shirt. People know what a red shirt looks like. right? But use the props appropriately and wisely. Like in this picture, you see Dhananjay Hetirachi is throwing that flower into the audience. That was a very good use of a prop. Pauses are like catches in a cricket match. Pauses allow the audience to think of what you have just said. So if you are saying something powerful, 100% you need a pause right after that. If you have a sad moment, you need the pause. What if you have a joke? You still need the pause. Why? Because you need them to laugh, right? If they start laughing and you don't pause, you start continue talking, what are they going to do? They will stop laughing and focus back on what you're saying. So use the pauses to really cement what you're saying. The secret ingredient of how to make your speech interactive and have the audience's attention, try and involve the audience. Maybe ask a question. You don't need an answer back. You just need maybe a raise of hand, a nod of the head, or just shout out yes, show a thumbs up, whatever it is. But connect with your audience in between. Make sure that from the within these 7 minutes, at least you have once or twice where you're asking a question to the audience, just to hold their attention. Even if people have drifted off, when you ask a question, they come back to you because they want to see what is being asked, right? As if somebody's asked to them. So remember to have the audience involvement in your speech. There is no use of having a story going on and on without any end in sight. We already know where this has to end. This has to end with your message. This has to end with the audience accepting what you're saying and the audience being ready to act on what you're saying. That is when your speech has reached its conclusion, right? So plan how you're going to close the deal. The call to action needs to be there, where there are steps that the audience takes, which you have to tell them. This was the change I made in my life. If you do these things, I believe you will achieve 1, 2, and 3, or this will be better in your future. Tie the opening to the closing. We need to go full loop, not leave them somewhere in between. Tie the opening to the closing. Your most powerful statement needs to be there somewhere at the end. It does not have to be the last sentence, but at least in the last 3 sentences, your most powerful statement, the one that you're repeating, has to be there. You close your speech up front and center. Center of the stage, up front, closest to the audience. You see the gentleman in the picture there, Darren T. He's got his arms spread out in a welcoming gesture. Always remember, the palm, if you show, it is warm, it is welcoming, it is comfortable. The back is not, right? The front is. So a welcoming gesture like this is quite good if you want to really get close to your audience. Up front, center of the stage is where you want to finish your speech. Remember about the closing. This was your speech, this was your story, this was your message. Okay? But who was it about? Or who was it for? It was always for the audience. So your closing statement ideally should be a you or a we based statement. If you remember the speech, I see something about you. I see something in you, which Dhananjay Hetirachi said. I see something in you. Throughout the speech, people are telling him, I see something in you, I see something in you. At the end, he tells the audience, when I look at you, I see something in you, but I don't know what it is, right? So the final statement of your speech should be directed towards the audience. All right. So very quickly, I'm giving you a quick outline of what your speech should look like. You're opening about 20% of your speech. You want to entertain the audience, that is, get their attention. So it could be a joke, it could be a question which interacts with the audience, something startling which gets the audience's attention, and it should give enough information about your story to lead in, right? That's 20% of your speech, roughly. You don't have to go by these percentages. This is just my understanding of it. Your body of your speech will contain your stories. You may have 1, 2, or 3 stories, up to you, depending upon how long your stories are. If one story itself covers everything you want to say, fair enough. Sometimes you want to give, okay, this is what happened to me. So my learning in the first story. The next story could be how I applied it in another part of my life. And the third one could be how you want the audience to apply it. So it's up to you. But 1, 2, or 3 stories, not more than 3 for a 7-minute speech. It would be too much, right? So 3 is the max I'd give. This is a longer part of your speech. So along with the information you give with the stories, you also want to be entertaining. So have some humor in there, have some action happening, have some dialogues, have some interaction with the audience. Okay. And the last part, it should also be persuasive in nature because you want to introduce your call to action. You want to introduce your message so that people will. Persuasion is about convincing people to accept your message or accept what you're selling them, like a sales pitch. The closing, you're talking your realization, you're giving them the call to action. This is what you have to do or what you can do. So the persuasion is there, and it has to be inspiring in nature because you want to motivate them to act and accept your message, right? So this is a basic structure of how your speech should look like. You do not have to follow this to the dot. This is obviously just an outline, but it gives you the information and the different areas of your speech. Your best friend, not your mentor or anybody else, your best friend is this guy, your phone camera. Record your speeches always. When you take this stage to give your speech, record it. If you're practicing at home, record your speech. See what is happening, right? See which parts of your speech are doing well, where you think you need improvement. You may think it is doing really great, but when you see it on camera, maybe it's not, right? Also see the positions because it gives you a glance of what the audience is seeing, right? So always, always, always record your speeches. When you have a newer version, you can delete the older version, doesn't matter, right? But observe what you're doing. There is another part to it. If you made the audience suffer for 7 minutes, it's only right that you also suffer. So watch it. Observe what you're doing. If you don't remember a thing of what I have said today, okay, a thing of what I have said today, I'm giving you the secret to make any international speech you give successful. You just have to do this. It's worth it, right? Reveal the secret. Speak from your heart, always. Tell the truth. Okay? Just be yourself. Tell the truth. Tell how you genuinely felt when those challenges were there. Tell how the changes that you made in your life actually applied to overcome those challenges. And truly give this as something of value to your audience. You have to believe that it is valuable for you to be able to give it. So speak from your heart with the intention that people are going to take your message and make their lives better in some way because of it. So truly speak from your heart and connect with your audience. All right. So these are all that I wanted to share with you today. If we have any questions, we can very quickly take those. Apologies, I was sharing my screen. I did not see the timer, so I'm sure we've reached 5 o'clock by now. But we haven't. We haven't. If you have any questions, we can very quickly take those. Either I was really convincing and you have no questions at all, or none of you heard a word I said.
Hashim, thank you for your wonderful advice, information that great inspired us. But I have small questions regarding them. When we give speech, we know we know the audience. So the audience will be changed accordingly. How our strategy to apply to connect with this one, because we have the one strategy will not fit for all type of audience. So how I can plan for my strategy to apply in this? Sorry, you are.
Sorry, I got stuck. Yeah, I got stuck. Okay. Okay. So, see, now when you give a story in your club, obviously you already know the people around you and they know you. So they will respond in a probably a predictable kind of way.
Yes.
The way you make your speech more universal is, of course, by, picking a subject that everyone can relate to and explaining, the characters or seeing in your script what are characters or nuances that I need to explain so that, everyone who is there will be able to understand it. And the kind of words that you choose. See, remember, people understand normally in three different kinds of ways. There are people who are visual in nature, so they need to see something. There are people who are auditory in nature, so they need to respond to what they hear. And kinesthetic are the people who respond to touch. the way you would connect is use words which are related to all three of them in your speech. So being very descriptive, oh, it was a beautiful Sunday morning. I used to go play cricket with my friends on this fantastic field, which was wide and bright. That is more visual in nature, right? When you use sound words and
Okay.
really have dialogues, that is auditory in nature. And when you talk about how you felt, that day I felt really good when I won my first cricket match ever. I felt amazing. Those respond to the kinesthetic kind of people. So have something for everybody in there. You have to test your material with different audiences.
Mhm.
Right? It's not only about doing well in the speech. Always remember one thing. See, I mean, contests are important and doing your speech good is great. That's all fine. But remember one thing. You're not here in Toastmasters to prove. You're here to improve.
Mhm.
You will prove out
True.
there in the real world, right? So the idea is to make yourself a better speaker.
Exactly.
Win or lose, okay, these are things that happen at the side. You're here to make yourself a better speaker. So test your material out with other clubs. If you have the opportunity, visit other clubs, test your material out, see how people respond. Not just other clubs. I would also suggest going to clubs which have other nationalities, whether our stories connect with them or not, because the sentiments that you hold or we hold as maybe Indians, would not be the same
Mhm.
as other people.
Exactly.
So that's how you will better your material and your content, right? So
Yeah.
you do need to test it out in other clubs before
Okay.
you take it to a contest.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your
Sure.
Okay.
DTM Hashim, I have one question.
Yeah, what's up?
Really, it's a wonderful session that it before you give the session, I suppose I used to hear your videos in the YouTube, and that time itself I'm so eager to hear one more time about your training. In fact, and my concern is I have one myth that being as I'm not a native speaker, or my slang or my voice is hard. I feel that I couldn't compete with the other competitors who is very fluent in English and also
Hmm.
native speakers.
Hmm.
Is the fluent the word count when I concentrate on the pronunciation, I lost my script, or I'm worrying that I'm doing some artificial. If I'm giving my own words with my own speech, I feel comfortable. So
Hmm.
how I can just improve that point?
So how will Mustafa, think of it this way? In
Yeah,
any case, how will you improve? You will improve only by practicing, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So if you feel that, naturally speaking is difficult, the way to overcome it is to prepare well in advance, have it reviewed, and keep practicing it until you've reached a position where you're comfortable presenting it to other people. Now, if you look at the judges' ballot for the international speech, you'll see that, your accent is not a factor at all, right? Pronunciation is important because English is to be pronounced in a certain way, so which you can learn. Accents take years to change and all, but you don't need to do that. Accent is not a factor in the international speech or any speech contest in Toastmasters. Yeah, Naina, you have your hand raised. Is it for this
Yeah.
question or is it a next?
For this question, I
Okay,
think
go
I
ahead.
can
Go ahead.
add something for Mustafa.
Yeah.
Mustafa, please remember we are doing all this not for this. We are doing it for real life. So think if in real life you want to improve your vocabulary or not, your speech or not, the words or not. Imagine in real life, you are in a situation where everybody is sitting, okay? And then you can use those flair language, bring you the edge.
Naina,
So
Hashim has to
think
leave.
that.
So Hashim has to
Ah,
leave because he has to attend another thing. I think.
No, just one line only,
No, no,
actually.
no.
yeah.
Okay, fine, fine. Okay.
Yeah. So that is what I mean. So don't think about competition. Think you're improving because for the world.
Yep. So,
Perfect.
can we? Okay. Uh, Thank you, DTM Hashim.
I
We
think
were truly.
Vinod, you want to say something?
Yeah. No, I want to invite DTM for the vote of thanks.
Oh,
Okay.
is it?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, fine, fine. Thanks, Vinod. Okay. Thank you, DTM Hashim. We were truly privileged to have you with us as our international speaker trainer. Your session not only inspired us, but also expanded our understanding of what powerful and purposeful speaking can achieve. Thank you so much for sharing your experience so generously and for engaging so meaningfully with our members. Your guidance today will certainly help us raise our standards and move closer to excellence. Definitely, we will have 3-4 international speakers from our club. Definitely, one of them will reach definitely up to divisions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We will
Thank you
definitely
so
come
much,
back to
everybody.
you for humorous speech. I will come back to you.
Yeah,
I will tell you.
sure.
Please provide us one more session that will definitely help us in and out to become efficient speakers. Thank you so much.